Second grade was a really interesting year for my daughter, and I'm so proud of how far she's come this year. I'm going to share with you all of the curriculum and resources we used and my thoughts. So keep watching. Hello and welcome. I am Christine, a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, and we're about to head into our 6th year of homeschooling. 5.5, 6, something like that. It's nuts how quickly it goes. But today I'm going to be sharing with you what my daughter's 2nd grade year was like, the curriculum that we used, and my thoughts behind it all. So, every one of my kids is so different in the way that they learn, and I choose their curriculum accordingly. My daughter was 7 for the vast majority of her 2nd grade year. And I use grades very loosely because I don't pick their curriculum based on grade level. I pick it on where they are academically. But she just did super well this year. She is my kid who complains very, very little about her schoolwork. She's from like her toddler years onward. Like, we won't talk about the baby years. The baby years, she was a stage to, like, she was a clingy baby. She wanted mama and mama only, and she wanted to be on my lap all the time. But from her toddler years onward, she has just been so independent, and she just gets on and does things that she needs to get done. She's taught herself how to tie her own shoelaces. She can whistle. Like, she just figures things out on her own. She doesn't really come and ask for help very often at all. And she's very much like that in her school as well. You kind of give her an assignment to do and she'll sit down and do it. And so when she does complain or struggle with something, I know she really needs help. She's really struggling with it because she's just not that way inclined. She will just get on and do it. So yeah, it's been a very interesting year for her. I'm going to go through each subject and chat about what we used. And I'll run some B-roll so you can see the resources that we used as I talk about it. So let's just start with language arts, because language arts, we switched curriculum this year. We kind of did the same last year, but she's just in a really good place, and I'm really proud of her and how well she's done. So we began the year with Abeka grade 1. She actually started that the year previous, and we just continued on with it. And that's what we used as her language arts curriculum. I think we started with Abeka spelling as well, and I quite quickly dropped that because I just felt like it wasn't necessary at the time. She needed to just learn how to read more fluently and understand the phonics rules and everything, and we could pick up spelling at a later date. So we did stop spelling. We continued with Abeka grade 1, and we made it almost all of the way through. And then I switched over to BJU Press. And the reason I stopped with Abeka wasn't because there's anything wrong with it. It just kind of felt like overkill in the last few lessons. Like, she kind of knew the stuff, and it was just kind of, kill and drill at that point. So I was like, let's just switch over now. I had planned on switching to BJU Press English for her because I wanted something a little bit more streamlined than Abeka. And I really liked BJU Press's writing, and that was something that I was looking for in a curriculum, in a language arts curriculum. So we switched over to BJU Press grade 2. She has honestly flown through that. We started it maybe halfway through the year, and I think she's over halfway through it now already. And she's done super well with that. I've been really impressed at how quickly she's taken to the grammar, because in Abeka, she really wasn't doing grammar yet. It was still very much just phonics-based stuff. Whereas BJU Press has, introduced nouns and verbs and predicates and subjects and all that kind of stuff, which she really hadn't heard of before. So she's done very well with it, and I'm very happy with that curriculum. I was happy with Abeka. It worked well for us for that time, and now I'm very happy with BJU Press. She's been able to do it fairly independently. Like, I usually sit down and do the first page with her, the front page, and explain things, and then she can do the back page by herself. She's been reading it, like the instructions, fairly independently. Occasionally she'll ask for help deciphering a word or something, but for the most part she can do it on her own. So really happy with that. Her handwriting is her favorite subject. She just loves handwriting. So I think we did grade 3 handwriting from the good and the beautiful this year, and she has flown through that. She did really well with it, and then she was actually finished quite early in the year, and I was like, I don't know if we're gonna start a new book till next year. And she's like, what do you mean we're not doing any more handwriting? So I printed off level 4, because I got most of the levels anyway. So printed that off for her, and she started on that. And yeah, her handwriting is impeccable. It is very impressive for a nearly turned 8-year-old. She's just very good with that. And I've just always really liked Abeka, The Good and the Beautiful handwriting. It's just beautifully put together. It's well laid out, and my kids love the little activities in it, like the mazes and the dot to dots and the coloring little portions in it. So yeah, she loves it. Handwriting was a big win. Math was a really interesting year with math. So we used Math with Confidence grade 2. She did grade 1 last year, and I was really happy with it. She's not my mathy kid. She's not bad at math, but it's not a natural strength for her either. And Math with Confidence has worked super well with my son, and I started my daughter on it last year because I just noticed a real lack of number sense with her, and I wanted to address that before we pushed any further. And so we started with grade 1. She did well. This year she did grade 2. And oh boy, there was a time, I'm sure you could find it in my update videos throughout the year, where she was just not getting subtraction. She, like, place value and single digit subtraction, she just was on struggle street. And I was like, what do we do? Well, I just left her. She would just use the manipulatives to figure out the answer, and I let her continue with that. She would do it independently. She didn't need me to help her as long as she had the manipulatives, and so I just left her to it. And by the end of this year, she no longer needed the manipulatives, and she was doing mental double-digit subtraction all on her own. Like, she could do it in her head. She didn't need manipulatives, and her brain just clicked and figured it out. And I'm so glad that we just kind of stuck with the curriculum and trusted the process, because it all worked out. And, you know, obviously a portion of it was developmental, and I didn't rush her. I just let her use the tools she needed to figure things out until her brain was able to put the dots together and work it out on her own. And I'm so glad I did that, because it worked really well. And then finally, she also did reading from Sunlight. She did their literature packet. She finished off the grade 1 readers, and she started on grade 2, and she's just chugging along great with that. She's been, like with everything else, she's been fairly independent with reading. She's my kid who just has picked up books on her own. She's just started reading the Magic Treehouse books with Jack and Annie in it, which my kids just get a kick out of, because my son is Jack and she is Annie, and there's like a very similar age gap and everything, so it's really cool. But my son's like well past reading those now. He's gone on to some more challenging books, but she's just started with that. And she said, I want something more interesting to read, because, you know, like, early readers can be quite boring, to be honest. There's not a lot of depth to the storylines most of the time. And so I was like, why don't you try these, thinking that maybe it would be a little bit of a challenge for her, and I didn't know how she'd go. But she's almost finished the first book already that I gave her, and we've got several of them, so she's ready to pick up the next one. So that's really exciting. My husband said every time he gets up for work in the morning at like 6:30, he goes downstairs and she's always sitting in her bed reading her book. So yeah, that makes me very proud of her, that she's just so determined, and I think that's going to do her so well in life going forward. She is just a hard worker and a go-getter, and I have to remind her sometimes to give herself grace and to come to people when she needs help. Like, she doesn't have to do everything on her own. But she's just such a sweet girl, and yeah, it's been a really cool year with her. So I think that's everything that she did this year. If you do have any questions about any of the resources we use, leave them down in the description or in the comments below. I'm always more than happy to chat about things and answer questions where I can. And I'm really looking forward to next year with her, because I think she's going to do very well. And third grade's kind of like a transition year, I feel like, into sort of some harder schoolwork. So we'll see how she goes. Third grade's where you start learning your times tables and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it's going to be a fun year. I'm looking forward to it with her. And like, as kids become more fluent readers, I feel like the fun just expands. Like, it's really great. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars,